The old bus wheezed to a stop, its brakes making that familiar squeaking sound that made Zara's teeth hurt. She pressed her hands against her ears for a moment, waiting for the noise to fade. Everything sounded so loud to her, like someone had turned up the volume on the whole world. The bus driver, a kind woman with gray hair, smiled at her through the mirror. "First time in Millbrook, honey?" she asked, her voice warm and friendly. Zara nodded, not trusting her voice. She grabbed her old backpack and the small suitcase that held everything she owned. Her hands were shaking a little, and she hoped nobody would notice. The bus door opened with a whoosh, and suddenly she was standing on the sidewalk watching. The bus disappeared down the street. The town looked like something from a movie. Small shops lined both sides of the main street with colorful signs and window displays. There was a coffee shop with tables outside, a bookstore with stacks of books in the window, and a small grocery store with fresh flowers out front. People walked by, talking and laughing, looking like they belonged here, like they had always belonged here. Zara felt like she was watching everything through glass. She could see it all, but she couldn't quite reach it. Her father had warned her this would happen. Moving to a new place was hard for anyone, but it was especially hard for someone like her. She wasn't completely human, though she looked like any other 17-year-old girl. Mother had been part of a secret government program years ago, something her father only talked about in whispers. The program had changed her mother in ways that got passed down to Zara. She could hear things other people couldn't hear, see patterns in technology that didn't make sense to anyone else. And sometimes she just knew things without knowing how she knew them. Her father called them gifts, but they felt more like a heavy backpack she could never take off. At their old home, which was really just a research facility in the middle of nowhere, everyone knew about her abilities. The doctors and scientists there had studied her since she was little, always asking questions and running tests. It wasn't a bad life, but it wasn't a normal one either. Now her father had gotten a new job, and they had to move to this regular town where nobody knew their secret. He had made her promise to keep her abilities hidden, to try to be as normal as possible. The problem was, Zara had never learned how to be normal. She had never gone to a regular school or made friends her own age. Standing on that sidewalk, she felt more lost than she had ever felt in her life. The sounds of the town crashed over her in waves. Car engines, footsteps, conversations, music from shop radios, the hum of electrical wires overhead. Her brain tried to process it all at once, and she felt dizzy. A woman walked past with a baby in a stroller. The baby looked right at Zara with bright, curious eyes. For a moment, Zara smiled. Babies always seemed to like her. Maybe it was because she could sense their emotions, or maybe they could sense something different about her. The woman noticed her baby staring and gave Zara a friendly wave. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" the woman said. Zara opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. The woman waited for a second, then smiled again and kept walking. Zara felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. She couldn't even handle a simple conversation with a stranger. She picked up her suitcase and started walking toward the address her father had given her. Their new apartment was supposed to be just a few blocks away above a small bakery. The smell of fresh bread drifted through the air, making her stomach growl. She realized she hadn't eaten anything since early morning. As she walked, she passed a group of teenagers sitting on the steps of the library. They looked about her age, probably students from the high school she would be attending next week. They were talking and laughing, completely comfortable with each other. One of them, a boy with kind eyes and an easy smile, looked up as she passed. He seemed like he might say something, but Zara quickly looked away and hurried past. She found the bakery and the small door next to it that led to the upstairs apartment. Her father had already moved most of their things in, though they didn't have much. The apartment was small but clean, with big windows that let in lots of light. It smelled like cinnamon and fresh bread from the bakery below. Zara set down her suitcase and looked around. There was a tiny kitchen, a living room with a couch and a desk, and 2 small bedrooms. Her father had already set up his computer in one corner, probably so he could work from home sometimes. The walls were bare, and everything looked temporary. like they might pack up and leave at any moment. She walked to the window and looked down at the street below. People were still walking by, going about their normal lives. A man walked his dog, stopping to let it sniff at a fire hydrant. 2 women stood outside the coffee shop, chatting and sipping from paper cups. A delivery truck rumbled past, its engine making her ears ring. Tomorrow was Saturday, which meant she had 2 days before she had to start school. 2 days to figure out how to be a normal teenager. 2 days to practice talking to people without seeming strange or different. 2 days to prepare for the hardest thing she had ever done. Her father came home just as the sun was setting, carrying pizza and a big smile. You could always tell when she was worried, even when she tried to hide it. "How was your first day in town?" he asked, setting the pizza box on the small table. "Quiet," she said, which was true. She had been quiet even if everything else had been loud. "It's going to take some time," he said gently, "but I think you're going to like it here. This is a good place for a fresh start." Zara nodded, but she wasn't sure. A fresh start sounded nice, but it also sounded scary. What if she couldn't learn to fit in? What if people found out she was different? What if she spent her whole senior year as alone as she felt right now? She ate her pizza and tried to push those thoughts away. Tomorrow she would explore the town more. Maybe she would go to the library or walk around the downtown area. Maybe she would even try to talk to someone. Her father always said that the best way to face your fears was one small step at a time. That night, as she lay in her new bed, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of the town settling down for the night, Zara made herself a promise. She would try. She would try to be normal, to make friends, to find her place in this new world. She didn't know if she would succeed, but she would try. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, her father always said. Tomorrow. She would take that first step. Monday morning came too fast. Zara stood in front of her bedroom mirror, trying to make herself look normal. She had picked out simple clothes, nothing too fancy or too plain. Her father had made her breakfast, but she could barely eat. Her stomach felt like it was full of butterflies. "You're going to do great," her father said, giving her a hug. "Just remember what we talked about?" Zara nodded. They had practiced over the weekend. Keep your head up, make eye contact, smile when people talk to you. Don't mention anything about your abilities. Try to blend in. It sounded easy when they talked about it, but now that she was actually walking toward the school, it felt impossible. Millbrook. High school was bigger than she had expected. Students were everywhere, talking in groups, laughing, calling out to friends across the courtyard. The noise hit her like a wall. Conversations, footsteps, car doors slamming, lockers banging shut. Enhanced hearing picked up every sound. Making it hard to focus on anything, she found the main office and got her schedule and locker combination. The secretary, Mrs. Peterson, was nice and gave her a map of the school. "Don't worry if you get lost," she said with a kind smile. Everyone does on their first day. The hallways were crowded and confusing. Zara kept checking her map, trying to find her first class. Students rushed past her, chatting with friends, looking like they owned the place. She felt invisible and completely out of place at the same time. Her first class was English literature. She found an empty seat in the back and tried to make herself small. The teacher, Mr. Rodriguez, was talking about a book she had actually read, but she didn't raise her hand. She didn't want to draw attention to herself. By lunchtime, she was exhausted. All morning she had been trying to filter out the noise, trying to act normal, trying to remember how to talk to people. A few classmates had said hello, but the conversations never went anywhere. She would answer their questions with 1 or 2 words, and then they would move on to talk to someone else. The cafeteria was the worst part. It was huge and loud, filled with the sounds of hundreds of teenagers eating and talking. Every table seemed to have its own group. Popular kids, the athletes, the theater kids, the smart kids. Where did someone like her fit in? She bought a sandwich and looked around for somewhere to sit. Most tables were full, and the empty ones felt too exposed. Finally, she found a small table near the windows and sat down by herself. She pulled out a book and pretended to read, but really she was just trying to look busy. That's when she noticed him. A boy with dark hair and friendly eyes was sitting at a table with a mixed group of students. He wasn't the loudest person at the table, but people seemed to listen when he talked. He had that easy confidence that some people just have, like he belonged wherever he was. What caught her attention was how he treated everyone around him. When a shy girl dropped her lunch tray, he helped her pick it up without making a big deal about it. When an argument started between two other students, he somehow made them laugh instead of fight. He had a gift for making people feel included. Zara watched him without meaning to. Her enhanced senses picked up things other people wouldn't notice. The way he really listened when people talked to him. The way he seemed to know just what to say to make someone feel better. The way he noticed when someone was sitting alone. Like right now, she realized he was looking at her. Not staring, just looking with genuine curiosity. Their eyes met across the cafeteria, and he smiled. Not the polite smile people gave to strangers, but a real, warm smile. Zara felt her cheeks get hot and quickly looked back at her book. A few minutes later, she heard footsteps approaching her table. She looked up to see the boy standing there, still smiling. "Hey," he said. "I'm Alex. I noticed you're new here." Yes," Zara managed to say. "I'm Zara. Cool name," Alex said. "If I sit?" "This table has the best view of the courtyard." Zara nodded, not trusting her voice. Alex sat down and took a bite of his sandwich. He didn't seem to expect her to talk right away, which was a relief. "So where did you move from?" he asked after. "A moment up north," Zara said. "My father got a new job. It's tough moving senior year. I've been there. We moved here sophomore year when my mom got stationed at the base." "Your mom's in the military?" "Air Force," Alex said. "We moved around a lot when I was younger. I know what it's like to be the new kid." Something about the way he said it made Zara feel less alone. He really did understand what it was like to not belong anywhere. "The trick is to find your people," Alex continued. "Everyone has a group here, even if it doesn't look like it at first." "What if you don't know what group you belong to?" Zara asked. Alex laughed, but not in a mean way. "Then you get to try them all until you find the right fit. That's the fun part." The rest of lunch passed quickly. Alex was easy to talk to. He asked questions, but didn't push when she gave short answers. He told her about the different teachers, and which classes were worth taking. He even drew on her map, showing her the best routes between classrooms. When the bell rang, Alex stood up. "What class do you have next?" "Chemistry with Dr. Martinez." "Perfect. That's on my way to history. I'll walk with you." As they walked through the hallways, Alex pointed out different things. The bulletin board where clubs posted announcements. The water fountains that actually worked. The bathroom that was always clean. Little things that made the school feel less scary and more like a place where she might actually belong. "You know," Alex said as they reached the chemistry classroom, "if you want to sit with me and my friends tomorrow at lunch, you're welcome to. We're a pretty mixed group. We're drama kids, science nerds, athletes, artists. We don't really fit into one category." "That sounds nice," Zara said, and meant it. "Great. See you tomorrow then." As Alex walked away, Zara felt something she hadn't felt since arriving in Millbrook. Hope. Maybe she really could find her place here. Maybe being different didn't mean being alone. She walked into chemistry class with a small smile on her face. For the first time in days, she felt like maybe everything was going to be okay. The next few weeks changed everything for Zara. True to his word, Alex had saved her a seat at lunch the next day. His group of friends was exactly what he had described. A mix of different people who somehow all got along perfectly. There was Riley, who painted amazing pictures and always had paint under her fingernails. Jake played guitar and wrote songs that made everyone stop talking just to listen. Mia was the smartest person in their chemistry class and could explain anything in a way that made sense. And then there was Alex, who somehow held them all together. With his easy laugh and genuine interest in everyone's lives. At first, Zara mostly listened. She sat quietly while they talked about their weekend plans, their favorite movies, their dreams for after graduation. But slowly, she started to feel comfortable enough to speak up. When Riley mentioned struggling with a math problem, Zara offered to help. When Jake played a new song, she was the first to clap. When Mia talked about a science project, Zara found herself asking questions that made Mia's eyes light up. "You're really good at this stuff," Mia said, one day after Zara had helped her work through a complex chemistry equation. "Have you thought about joining the science club?" Zara hadn't thought about joining any clubs. The idea of putting herself out there still scared her, but with Alex's encouragement, she decided to try. The science club met after school on Thursdays, and to her surprise, she loved it. The other students were passionate about learning, just like she was. They didn't think it was weird that she got excited about molecular structures, or that she could spot patterns in data that others. What Zara didn't tell anyone was that her enhanced abilities were making these friendships even more special. She could sense Alex's emotions through the tiny electromagnetic changes in his body, and she knew without a doubt that his kindness was real. There was no hidden agenda, no fake friendliness. He genuinely cared about people, and that made her trust him in a way she had never trusted anyone outside her family. Her pattern recognition abilities helped her understand the social dynamics at school, too. She could see which students were struggling, which friendships were having problems, and which teachers were having bad days. Without really thinking about it, she started sharing these insights with Alex. "I think Maya from our history class is having a hard time," she mentioned one day. "She seems really stressed about something." Alex looked surprised. "How can you tell? She always seems fine to me." Zara realized she had said too much. She couldn't explain that she had noticed that tension in Maya's electromagnetic field, or that she had picked up on micro-expressions that most people would miss. So she just shrugged. "I don't know. Just a feeling, I guess." But Alex took her seriously. The next day, he made a point of talking to Maya, and it turned out she was dealing with some family problems at home. Alex helped connect her with the school counselor, and Maya later thanked him for caring enough to notice. This happened several times. Zara would mention something she had observed, and Alex would act on it. Together they helped a student who was being bullied, noticed when one of their teachers was going through a divorce, and even prevented a fight between two groups of students. By understanding the real problem behind their anger, you have this amazing ability to see what other people miss, Alex told her one afternoon as they walked home together. "It's like you can read people's minds or something." Zara's heart skipped. A beat had she been too obvious? But when she looked at Alex, she saw only admiration in his eyes, not suspicion. "I just pay attention," she said carefully. "Most people don't pay attention the way you do," Alex said. "It's a gift." If only he knew how right he was. As the weeks passed, Zara found herself changing. The shy, scared girl who had arrived in Millbrook was still there, but she was growing stronger. Alex's belief in her gave her the confidence to speak up in class. His friendship made her feel like she belonged somewhere. And slowly, she began to see her differences not as burdens to hide, but as strengths that could help others. She started tutoring students who were struggling with math and science. Ability to see patterns and understand complex concepts made her an excellent teacher. She helped Riley with the technical aspects of her art projects, showing her how to use digital tools to enhance her paintings. She even helped Jake with the electronics for his music equipment, though she had to be careful not to reveal just how much she understood about technology. The hardest part was keeping her secret. Every day, she wanted to tell Alex the truth about who she really was. She imagined what it would be like to share everything with him, to not have to hide part of herself anymore. But her father's warnings echoed in her mind. People wouldn't understand. They would be afraid. They might even try to study her, like the scientists at the old facility had done. One evening, she and Alex sat on the steps of the library, watching the sunset. She almost told him everything. They had been talking about their dreams for the future, about the people they wanted to become. Alex had shared his fear that he wasn't smart enough to get into the college he wanted. Zara had told him about her worry that she would never really fit in anywhere. "You know what I think?" Alex said, looking at her with those kind eyes that seemed to see right through her. "I think you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and I think you're going to do amazing things with your life." "Can you be so sure?" Zara asked. "Because I've seen who you really are," Alex said simply. "You care about people, you see things that need to be fixed, and you find ways to fix them. You make everyone around you better just by being yourself." Zara felt tears prick her eyes. He was talking about her human qualities, the parts of herself that had nothing to do with her special abilities, the parts that were just her. "Thank you," she whispered, as they sat there in comfortable silence. Watching the stars appear one by one in the darkening sky, Zara realized something important. She had been so focused on hiding her differences that she had forgotten about her similarities. Yes, she could do things other people couldn't do, but she also felt the same things they felt. She wanted to belong, to be loved, to make a difference in the world. Alex had given her something precious, the confidence to be herself, differences and all. And in return, she had given him something too. Her unique perspective had made him a better leader, a more understanding friend, a person who could see beyond the surface to what really mattered. Their friendship was changing both of them, and Zara knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, she wouldn't have to face them alone anymore. Everything was going perfectly until it was. Sarah was sitting in her favorite spot in the library, helping a freshman with algebra, when she heard the commotion. Students were gathering around computers, their voices rising with excitement and worry. She could hear fragments of conversation floating through the air. The whole system is down. Someone hacked into everything. They got into the grade database. Her enhanced hearing picked up much more than the average person would catch. Teachers whispering in the hallway about security breaches. The principal making urgent phone calls. The IT technician muttering about sophisticated attacks that shouldn't be possible for high school students. But it was what she sensed through her electromagnetic abilities that really worried her. The school's computer network was like a living thing to her. She could feel the damage spreading through it like a virus. Whoever was doing this knew exactly what they were doing. By the end of the day, the rumors were flying. The schools, the entire computer system had been compromised. Grades had been changed, personal files accessed, and the security cameras disabled. The attack was so advanced that the school had to call in outside experts to figure out what happened. Zara walked home feeling sick to her stomach. She had a bad feeling about where this was heading. The next morning confirmed her fears. Principal Johnson announced over the intercom that they were investigating the cyber attack and that several students with advanced computer skills were being questioned. Zara's name was on the list. She had never felt so exposed. Ever since joining the science club and helping other students with technology problems, her computer abilities had become well known around school. She could fix problems that stumped teachers, understand complex programming concepts that seemed impossible for someone her age, and somehow always know when technology was about to fail. What people didn't know was that her understanding came from her enhanced abilities. She could sense the electromagnetic patterns in computer systems, feel the flow of data like others might feel wind. To her, technology wasn't mysterious, it was as natural as breathing, but now that gift was making her look guilty. The whispers started immediately. Students who had been friendly before now looked at her with suspicion. In the hallway, she heard her name mentioned in conversations that stopped when she walked by. Even some of her new friends seemed uncertain. "I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding," Riley said during lunch, but her voice sounded forced. "Of course it is," Mia agreed, but she wouldn't meet Zara's eyes. Only Alex seemed completely unchanged. He sat beside her at lunch, defended her when others made comments, and treated her exactly the same as always. But Zara could sense his confusion. He knew she was capable of incredible things with technology, but he also knew her character. The two didn't match up in his mind. The worst part was that Zara actually knew who was responsible for the attacks. Her electromagnetic sensitivity had detected the source during the initial breach. It was coming from off campus, from someone with a grudge against the school. But she couldn't explain how she knew this without revealing her abilities. When Principal Johnson called her into his office, Zara felt like she was walking to her execution. The principal was a fair man, but he looked tired and stressed. Sitting beside him was a woman in a business suit who introduced herself as a cybersecurity expert. "Zara, we need to ask you some questions about the computer attack," Principal Johnson said gently. "We're not accusing you of anything, but we need to understand how someone could have done this." The questions went on for an hour. They asked about her computer background, her access to school systems, her knowledge of hacking techniques, Zara answered honestly, but she could see the doubt in their eyes. Her abilities were too advanced for her age, too unusual for someone with her background. Is there anything else you can tell us? A cybersecurity expert asked. Any theories about who might have done this or how they managed it? Zara opened her mouth to speak, then closed it again. She wanted to tell them about the electromagnetic traces she had detected, about the patterns that pointed to an external source. But how could she explain that without sounding completely crazy? I don't know, she said finally, as she left the office. She felt like her carefully built new life was crumbling around her. Students stared at her in the hallways. Teachers looked at her with suspicion. Even her favorite librarian seemed wary. When she tried to check out books, the rumors grew worse each day. Some students claimed she had bragged about being able to hack any system. Others said she had been acting strangely before the attack. None of it was true, but truth didn't seem to matter anymore. Zara found herself eating lunch alone again, just like her first day. Her friends still talked to her, but the easy comfort was gone. Everyone was walking on eggshells, trying to be supportive, while clearly having doubts. The only person who remained completely in her corner was Alex. He sat with her every day, ignored the stares and whispers, and made it clear that he believed in her innocence. But Zara could sense his internal struggle. He wanted to help her, but he didn't know how. One afternoon, as they walked home together, Alex finally brought up what everyone was thinking. I know you didn't do this, he said quietly. But I also know you're not telling me everything. There's something you're not saying. Zara stopped walking. They were standing on the bridge over Mill Creek, the same spot where they had become real friends weeks ago. The water flowed peacefully below them, but Zara's heart was pounding. What do you mean? She asked. I mean you're one of the smartest people I've ever met, Alex said. You understand technology in ways that don't make sense. You see patterns that other people miss. You know things before they happen. And now you're telling me you have no idea how this attack happened or who might be responsible? Zara felt tears building in her eyes. He was right. She was lying to him, to everyone. But what choice did she have? I wish I could help, she said. And it was the truth. But I don't know what to tell you. Alex studied her face for a long moment. Whatever you're hiding, it's eating you alive. And it's not going to get better until you find a way to make this right. That night, Zara lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Alex was right. She couldn't keep living like this, but using her abilities. To solve the problem meant risking everything. If she revealed what she could do, would people accept her? Or would they be afraid of her? She thought about her father's warnings, about the scientists who had studied her like a lab rat. She thought about the life she had built in Millbrook, the friends she had made, the sense of belonging she had finally found. And she thought about Alex, who had stood by her when everyone else had doubts, who had believed in her when she couldn't, believe in herself, who deserved to know the truth about who she really was. For the first time since arriving in Millbrook, Zara knew what she had to do. She just had to find the courage to do it. Zara didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened. By morning, she had made her decision. She couldn't keep living a lie, and she couldn't let an innocent person take the blame for her, something she might be able to solve. The next day at school, she did something she had never done before. Instead of hiding her abilities, she used them purposefully. During computer class, she let her electromagnetic senses guide her through the school's network. She could feel the digital footprints left by the real attacker, traces that the cybersecurity experts had missed. The pattern was clear to her now. The attacks weren't random. They were targeted and personal. Someone who knew the school systems intimately had been systematically destroying files and causing chaos. And the electromagnetic signature was coming from a location she recognized. It was Danny Peterson, a former student who had graduated 2 years ago. He had been expelled just before graduation for cheating and had blamed the school for ruining his future. Zara could sense his digital presence like a fingerprint, still lurking in the school's network through back doors he had created when he was a student. But knowing the truth and proving it were two different things. She couldn't exactly tell Principal Johnson that her enhanced electromagnetic perception had identified the culprit. She needed to find another way. That's when she remembered Alex's words about making things right. She didn't have to reveal everything about herself. but she could use her abilities to help others discover the truth. Over the next few days, Zara began leaving digital breadcrumbs. She would accidentally discover log files that pointed toward external access. She would notice unusual patterns in network traffic that suggested someone with old system knowledge was responsible. She guided the investigation without taking credit. It's like an invisible detective helping the police solve a case. Alex noticed the change in her immediately. She seemed focused and determined instead of scared and defensive. When he asked her about it, she just said she was trying to help however she could. "I believe you," he said simply. "Whatever you're doing, I trust you." Those words meant everything to Zara. Alex's faith in her gave her the strength to keep going. Even when the investigation seemed to be moving too slowly, the breakthrough came. When Zara managed to trace one of the attacks back to its source in real time, she felt the electromagnetic pulse as Danny tried to access the system from his apartment across town. Using her enhanced senses, she was able to identify the exact IP address and even the specific computer being used. She couldn't report this directly, but she could make sure the right people found the evidence. She left anonymous tips that led the cybersecurity team to the external connections. She discovered old system logs that showed Danny's previous access patterns. Piece by piece, she built a case that would clear her name and catch the real criminal. When Principal Johnson announced that they had identified the actual perpetrator, Zara felt like a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. The school community was shocked to learn that Danny Peterson had been responsible for the attacks. He was arrested and charged with multiple cybercrime offenses. But more importantly for Zara, her name was cleared. The students who had whispered about her in the hallways now felt ashamed of their suspicions. Teachers who had looked at her with doubt now apologized for their lack of faith. Now friends welcomed her back with relief and celebration. "You were innocent," Riley said, hugging her tight. "I'm sorry I ever doubted you." "We all are," Mia added. "You're one of us, and we should have stuck by you no matter what." The experience had changed Zara in ways she hadn't expected. She realized that her abilities weren't just tools for solving problems, they were part of who she was, and she could use them to help others without revealing her secret. She had found a way to be true to herself while still protecting her privacy. More importantly, she had learned that real friendship meant standing by someone even when things got difficult. Alex had shown her what loyalty looked like, and she wanted to be that kind of friend to others. A few weeks later, as she and Alex sat on their favorite bench outside the library, Zara finally found the courage to share part of her truth. "I want to tell you something," she said, her heart pounding, "about why I'm different." Alex turned to look at her, his expression serious but encouraging. "I didn't grow up in a normal family," she began carefully. "My mother was part of a government research program. It changed her in ways that got passed down to me. I can sense things that other people can't understand, technology in ways that don't make sense for someone my age." She held her breath, waiting for his reaction. Would he think she was crazy? Would he be afraid of her? Alex was quiet for a long moment, processing what she had told him. Finally, he smiled. "That explains a lot," he said. "I always knew there was something special about you. The way you could help people, solve problems that seemed impossible, understand things that others missed. I just didn't know what to call it." "You're not scared?" Zara asked. "Scared of what?" "Of the fact that you're incredibly smart and caring. Of the fact that you use your abilities to help others instead of for selfish reasons." Alex shook his head. "If anything, I'm grateful. Your gifts made you the person you are, and that person is someone I'm proud to call my friend." Tears filled Zara's eyes. She had been so afraid of rejection, so worried that people would see her as a freak or a danger. But Alex's acceptance showed her that she had been wrong to hide who she was. "Thank you," she whispered, "for believing in me, for standing by me, for helping me find my place here." "Thank you for trusting me with your secret," Alex replied. "And for showing me what real friendship looks like." As senior year continued, Zara became more confident in using her abilities to help others. She started a tutoring program for students. Struggling with technology, she helped teachers solve computer problems that had been frustrating them for months. She even worked with the school's IT department to improve their security systems. making sure nothing like Danny's attacks could happen again. She had learned that being different didn't mean being alone. Her abilities were part of her, but they didn't define her. What mattered was how she chose to use them, and she chose to use them to make her community stronger. By graduation day, Zara had transformed from the shy, scared girl who had arrived in Millbrook to a confident young woman who knew her worth. She had found her people, discovered her purpose, and learned that the things that made her different were actually her greatest strengths. As she walked across the stage to receive her diploma, she saw Alex cheering for her in the audience. Her father was there too, beaming with pride. And for the first time in her life, Zara felt like she was exactly where she belonged. The future stretched out before her, full of possibilities. She didn't know what challenges lay ahead, but she knew she would face them with confidence, surrounded by people who accepted her for who she truly was. The alien girl who had once been shy and lost had found her way home.